Jeno Yoweri Kaguta Museveni eno kitokota basajja be Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert Bobi Wine abalinnyemu wakati ku luno ogenda kuwulira embaga. Andoza tutandike bwetutya ebigambo tubirabe.
Asking a question on what can we do, what other solutions do we have, what should we continue doing that is being effective. Yeah, reflecting. I know that yes, we are making strides. There is more to do, but I wanted to share this. There's what they call social loafing in psychology. Social loafing is because I was in Uganda a while back, and I was there for a while. It was like 2 months ago, and I'd been there for a while, like 3 months. And what I saw is a lot of complacency. Everyone, most people at this point really desire change. Even the older people, but the young ones mostly are really bothered by what is going on, and they want change. The trick is that when it comes to action, everyone looks next to the other, and that's why I was talking about the social loafing. Social loafing is like you're driving on a highway or a freeway, and you see an accident, and in your mind, what comes in your mind is like, somebody has already seen it and called an ambulance, instead of taking it upon yourself. So you're seeing there's an issue that would require urgency. You're seeing that if you are in the same position, you would want somebody to call an ambulance, but you don't call it. That is where our Ugandans, many of them, are going wrong. Because if anyone saw that ambulance, that accident, and called an ambulance, then there are chances that the others who have seen it and thought the same way as you have, you will be the one to save the day. But that is what I saw around. Many people going about their business. They are seeing everything is wrong. There is no excuse anymore. Before they used to have excuses, but we have put out the voices. We have exposed these heartless people so much. These agents of evil, they have everything now they are doing is just not working, because we have pounded the truth out there. Nobody has any excuse not to take action.
That's right.
Then let's not come to that point where we are caught into social loafing. When we see something, when we can do something, let's do it. Then I had Olanya. Olanya was crying about the Karuma closing. They closed Karuma, and they started charging people who use the Mubende side. Then I also heard about this Father Graham, who is going to be buried in Namasagali. And you see, these things are happening, but the people who are concerned, even the people who are in Namasagali, looking at how Namasagali is looking right now, showing how much these people have destroyed the education system in Uganda. We are not hearing voices. Nobody is angry enough to come out and talk. People like Juliana. Juliana has a voice. She was in Namasagali. She could have said, our education system has been destroyed. Namasagali need to be resolved, but nothing. How people are complacent in Uganda. And then what is happening around Africa, Ibrahim Traore exposed the fact, people like Museveni and his people. He gave a speech. If anyone has a chance, just Google Ibrahim Traore's speech. He talked about people like Museveni, who serve their masters, the people, for example, they sell that crude oil, because they are selling the crude oil, and nobody is very accountable to anything that is going on. And Uganda is not seeing the returns of that crude oil which they are selling. But who is taking that oil? It's the Western world. So somehow they are partnering. And this is what Ibrahim Traore was talking about. They are partnering with certain wealthy individuals in the Western world who the governments and political governments know very well, and they are looting resources from countries, including Uganda. Because this crude oil they have been selling for long, that's a loot. They are looting and they're getting money. So let's also continue to name and expose these people who are silent and they should be doing something. God has given them a voice, but they're not using it. Let's hammer them too, because now they are also being what? They are being part of, these evil agents or agents of evil. Let's continue and then exposing,
Yeah.
pushing them to be accountable. Yeah, that's a few of what has been going on in my mind. Yes, I'll turn back to you, Douglas.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Comrade Reggie. Before we move on to our co-host, Joseph, comrades, do you want to come in? Comrade Madways as well, do come in, speak to us. What's on your mind? How are you today? Sorry to pick on you, but are you available to speak to us now, Madways?
Sorry, not now.
Okay. Yes, I like your protest. Just hold on right there. 9th October march to Parliament. Anita must resign. The hashtags, guys, march to Parliament. Anita must resign. Stop corruption. So when you're crafting tweets, do not forget those are the hashtags. We have to make them trend. Yeah, we've been hearing Nabanja's rant and speaking nonsense at the UN. Hopefully we'll have somebody talk to us about that as well. There is the electoral reforms that we need to discuss. All the pardon my language, is going to there's so much that is happening in Uganda, and we cannot afford to just go to sleep. Okay, so let us discuss these issues and let us be awake as a nation. Yes, Comrade Ismail, how are you? I hope you're all right. Did you want to come in, have a word? Otherwise, Comrade Joseph, hopefully you're... Comrade Ellen Prezo, good to see you. I hope you're all right. Guys, I salute you all. Comrade Modi, Sister Prosi, Sister Mimi, Teacher Mimi, why don't you come in and say a word? Yeah, I was speaking to brothers and sisters earlier and saying it is so sad. We've lost a mom on this platform, Dr. Jolie, Honorable Jolie Mugisha. She's taught us actually a couple of times on this platform. It is so sad that, she's departed so soon. Sister Mimi, did you want to come in and have a word? And then we hand the mic over to Comrade Joseph. Guys, you're all fully quiet. Something. There you are. How are you, sis?
I'm good. I'm good. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, comrades, and yeah, it's very sad about our mama, Jolie, passing. So we are, we are very great, leaving us. But I think the most important thing and what she probably should have loved is for us to continue to struggle, so that her passing and all the others that have gone before her is not in vain. So we want to encourage ourselves to continue to carry that legacy until we get to the new Uganda. I think that is the very most important thing, not to give up, and to hold on, and also to remind everybody who's gonna come in the future what these great fighters were, who they were. And so we have to keep their candles burning. And that's all I have to say for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sis. Yes, we have to stay strong, and may God comfort and strengthen each and every one of you, the Nook family, and of course, the family of Honorable Jolie Mugisha. May she rest in peace. Yes, thank you so much, sis, and thank you so much for all that you continue to do. We are grateful. Yes, guys, those that are joining us for the first time, and those that are just coming in, we are discussing the situation in Uganda. There's so much to discuss. People are being blocked. I heard about the Pakwach. I don't know the exact road, but I think the one that goes via the Masindi port. People have been, there's charges everywhere. They charge a vehicle, then charge the passengers as well. This extortion that is going on down there. There's so much to discuss, and I really welcome. Yes, please.
Yeah, like you just used the word extortion going on. It's not just that's just one of the things Olanya was talking about. But there's also extortion at the airport. If you go with anything, buy a phone for your child or your relative and go with it. They open up the suitcase, they get out the phone and ask you for money. Like everywhere. And then there are these roadblocks that Museveni has put everywhere. They stop the vehicle, they ask everybody for IDs. You're already inside the country, they're asking you for IDs. How are citizens moving around and having to present their IDs? Like, it's just chaos right now. But the charges, it's open. Nobody seems to be in charge of anything anymore. It's just frustrating. So yes, it is true. It's what is going on.
Yeah. It is terrible. And hopefully we can hear from comrades. You guys ask for the mic. Let us speak. We need to discuss. Let Mao and his team and the ruthless regime not come to lie to us. We need to be armed. Yes. We need to know what is taking place in our country. And we have to be interested, because if we think politics is for the politicians, then the Christians or the so-called good guys, you are going to suffer. And you have got to take charge of your nation. You have to be interested in what is happening in this nation of Uganda. Yes, thank you so much, Brother Reggie.
I like what they are doing. Mao, they have finally, what they have done is they have exposed his family to let him know that while he's bringing oppressive laws, he's living within Uganda, where there are people who are being oppressed by the same laws, and they have access to his family. So he's now feeling it, because they have been posting his family and his kids in school. So that will probably let them realize that they cannot, loot Uganda, destroy Uganda, and just sit and enjoy. And I think that is a good thing that should be done for others too. Yeah.
Comrade, thank you. Comrade Godfrey, do come in, and then we roll the mic to Joseph, then Ellen Prezo or Comrade Madways. Yes, Comrade Godfrey.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yes.
Yeah, so even last Saturday I didn't attend because I had to be at work, having taken Friday off. So we were expecting, we saw our leaders anyway, minus His Excellency, which was great. The day was good. We hope people could have turned up more, but once they hear His Excellency is not coming, some don't bother to turn up, which is shameful. But all in all, we had a good day. So I didn't get to meet the president on Sunday because being on call, I can't go much far than London. But anyway, on another point, we know Karuma had to be closed for engineering purposes, but behind all of this, there's a rot in the system where we have no capacity. This wasn't something new. They knew well, maybe even like 10 years ago, that they need to do something about a major bridge which carries a lot of weight, which wasn't designed for it. But there's no plans for repair or putting something in place so they can effectively carry out the repair while having alternative routes to other areas. I mean, at this point in time, we should not have to rely on one route to go around. If I was in London, they close one bridge and I can use another bridge or another one. Karuma was built during the colonial days, I presume, or if not, during the first UPC government. I'm not so sure. I haven't read the history, but you are guaranteed most of the infrastructure we still have was built a long time ago. Now, this regime, they only touch it if there's something for them to eat, and that's what tends to happen. We shall continue to expose them, but at the moment, our urgent problem is to attack these politicians, the Mpuga style, the Maos, because there's some sinister plans behind they are coming on, and Mpuga going with the DP bloc and so on and so on, and bringing in certain reforms when he let us down when he was in the parliament. Mao is another one. So we have to attack him at any opportunity, attend spaces where we discuss them, and Zooms where we discuss them, to remind them that we actually don't like them or their politics. We are Ugandans who are fed up, and they can't tell us that they are in a peaceful country when 90% of people are not. We are in the operation and they are living large. They are feasting on the oppressors or the taxpayers' money with no return. So if we attack them left, right, and center, there's no apologies. I shall stop ranting and give someone another one a chance. Thank you, Dorcas.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Comrade Godfrey, for your submission. Thank you so much. Comrade Joseph, please do pick up the mic. Thank you. We should bear in mind, we have a moment of silence in 5 minutes, but do come in, Comrade, and then you carry on the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, doctors. Thanks everyone for joining this session. And obviously, I think we should start off with Madame Jolie Mugisha, who passed away. And I believe we should start a moment of silence with her. Have a moment of silence for her before they, and then carry through our silence. So as we know, Madame Jolie Mugisha has been the Vice President of Western Uganda. Very strong, as you know, Museveni and NRM home is Museveni's supposed home is that region. So to be a leader from the Western region, which is a stronghold of Museveni, and be the flag bearer party is no mean feat. So she's been a very strong woman, woman rights activist. I understand her husband died when she was about 30. She raised the children by herself without a husband. And, and she really, according to Miriam Makemba, she really loved Nup and she would have given her life for it. So we need to remember her and remember her example and be inspired by her spirit and what she stood for. So I think it's befitting that we hold a moment of silence right now for her, and then continue to 3 minutes through the our normal moment of silence. So, Madam, I would request that we all observe a moment of silence for Miss Jolie Mugisha, and perhaps go through the moment of silence, the normal moment of silence. So it's going to be a bit longer than normal. So basically, let's kind of kill two birds with one stone. So let's observe a moment of silence for Madame Mugisha, please.
Thank you so much, Comrade Joseph. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we will play this clip for those that can read. It is a moment of silence. After this, we'll have our usual political, usual comrades that have gone. So this is for Honorable Jolie. Thank you. We will have yet another minute of lives lost, and just for a minute. Thank you. You listening in, or if you're joining us today on Zoom, thank you so much for observing that moment of silence. We do have to remind you guys that the suffering in Uganda is immense, and we cannot continue to watch. We have to do something. Apart from speaking, let us mobilize. Let us do something about what is happening in Uganda. So many of our brothers and sisters have departed so early, so soon. People being shot at. Imagine someone is in their garden and they're shot at. Museveni will tell you that was a stray bullet. And then you'll be wondering, which war were they at? Which war were they fighting that they're stray bullets? Why would there be stray bullets in a country, in a nation you know, a peaceful nation. Who are they fighting? Who do they war with? Why are soldiers carrying guns or policemen? Why do they carry guns on the streets? You know, who is their enemy? So we have got to take charge of our nation. We've got to do something. We've got to speak and take action. Yes, Comrade Joseph, I roll the mic over to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dorcas. Yes, for those moment of silences for Madame Mugisha and our normal moment of silence. Madame Mugisha's last appearance was finally July in Mushenyi, and she called on, the meeting was attended by activists in the Ankole region, and she highlighted the need for electoral reforms. And basically, especially Article 60, Section 1, which gives the president and parliament the power to appoint and approve the electoral commission, its commissioners. As we know, 2026 is fast approaching and nothing has changed. The electoral commission is still in place. We have a Kama, and those, basically most of these commissioners that were involved in rigging the election for the are still, you know, they're still there. You know, the judiciary, you know, is still in place. The one that has been frustrating, you know, the Help Museveni rig election, and it's been keeping our people in prison. I mean, basically not giving them due process, not allowing our political prisoners to be tried in military courts against, you know, the actual rulings by some of the actual members of the judiciary, saying that it was illegal for civilians to be tried in military court-martial. So these institutions, the two institutions, judiciary and the electoral commission, are very much in place. So one thing which is, I think we should remember that our last call was that there should be some kind of electoral reforms. So now, this brings us to what has been happening recently. You saw Museveni came up recently and said that no rigged the election 2021, that they got 1 more million votes than they should have. You know, and then the question is, how did he even know that? You know, obviously Museveni is kind of laying the groundwork for even more rigging. And now, today I just read that they're talking about that there should be, you know, like, you know, they should be using technology in elections that, you know, like, because that will minimize the rigging. So, you know, so basically, and any polling station, combination of technology and biometric, you know, like fingerprinting and all that, you know, that if you're not biometrics, the fingerprints and other kind of identifying information is not in a system, you cannot vote. And of course, we know that Museveni is bringing in all types of refugees. Many of them are being registered. We find people, Nigerians and people from different countries with Ugandan passports. And so obviously these people can be entered into the system. So saying that, oh, you know, we need to use the biometric system as a safeguard, you know, and Museveni who's bringing in all types of people, you know, it's in a country, maybe in some other countries, it may sound okay, but in Uganda's case, the biometric system as an identification measure is just not, you know, and then coupled with saying that they should only be using technology for voting. I vote in the United States because you know, I voted here. Even in the US, you know, you know, when you vote, you know, of course they send you a voter registrar, they identify, you know, they send you some information, and you have to, you know, they know the address, they know where you live, you know what district you live in, and you go, when you go to the polling station, they check your information, and you vote. But even in the US, where you're not, and you actually fill in you know, like a paper, and then you put it in the machine and whatever. But this actual a voting you know, card, you know, that you use. But in Uganda, supposedly we're going to be relying on technology to vote, which means that if in your region the electricity goes out or the system's down, you basically are not going to vote, and then that gives the electoral commission leeway to do whatever, or Museveni and his people to rig as a priest. So all these, Museveni is very good at devising ways to rig elections, and he usually kind of brings this. History shows everyone who's been following Ugandan elections since, even beginning from 96 in the first election, when they won against Samugere, up to 2021. Every time before elections, it comes up with, of course, removal term limits, amending the constitution, and doing all types of things to make sure that it stays in power. So he excels at this, and as the opposition, we need to stand up and say, enough is enough. One, at the very least, we should have demanded and stood up very, very strongly and said, without electoral reforms, ABCD, choosing the electoral commissioners, the opposition having members of electoral commission, and all these other reforms, which actually going back to 2014, I think November 2014, the civil society in Uganda came up with Uganda Citizens Reform Compact on free and fair elections. It was very, very detailed and calls on, how electoral commissioners should be appointed. Before someone is appointed, there should be public hearing. They should be scrutinized by the Judicial Service Commission, and basically kind of be vetted by the public and the political parties, so that these people are more represented, as opposed to right now the Electoral Commission, which is filled with cadres, basically NRM members. It's a partisan organization, and this is the one that's running our elections, and which means, of course, they're paid and over their office and benefits from the regime, so they're doing its bidding. So we do not have an electoral commission or a system that could run a credible election. So that's why some of us are very much opposed to business as usual, saying that we should go into 2026 elections. And of course, now, again, another thing which has come up with Mao's reforms, and this is not new, because at least we knew about it, the idea of the parliament choosing the president, kind of like in the parliamentary system. You guys in the parliamentary system, like in UK, many of the European countries know that the party with the most members chooses the prime minister. So Museveni, now knowing that he cannot really win an election through people, a vote, is going to try to use this thing. He's kind of trying whatever can stick, whatever can work. He's going to kind of try everything to make sure that he. And I think what is likely to happen is that this amendment is likely to pass because it has the majority in Parliament. A lot of NUP MPs have been compromised. We know Mpuga was given that bribe just 6 months about 6 months after he took office. I mean, for appreciation. What appreciation after 6 months? So basically, I think that was a bribe towards making sure, he's talking about reforms, but among those reforms could be him kind of fulfilling the down payment that they gave him on ensuring that Museveni gets his way in terms of, perhaps Parliament choosing the members of Parliament choosing the Prime Minister or the President. So this is what am I getting at? What we're getting at is that we as Ugandans cannot wait. We cannot sit back and say, 2026 is coming, we're going to mobilize, we have, and that's why the Kabuleta clip that Dorcas played at the beginning, saying that until we stand up and say enough is enough, we as pest feelers we are basically going to continue to be screwed. Our country is they're going to have more strategies like Chitezi, and all types of things that are happening, people being displaced, natural disasters and floods and all that because of negligence. And until we stand up, our country is gone. Our country is gone, and we cannot wait for a system or for the elections that Museveni organizes and runs to think that anything can change. You know, the international community exposing Museveni with Danda, it's been exposed for many for decades. You know, okay, 2021 was exposed to a great extent than ever before, because of course Honorable Ebyabwe is more popular than any other opposition leader before, because for the first time the youth were involved. But that is not really, in terms of these international communities that deal with Museveni, that fund him, until they see us Ugandans saying we are fed and up and tired, and we show it in a sustained manner on the streets, and they won't, you know, as long as it's keeping the peace, and you know, like, people seem to be more or less content, because they say even in countries like the US, you know, the elections are very close, 49-51, saying, well, that's democracy. Some people won't like you, there'll be a big chunk, but if, if we, they can kind of say, oh, he actually won the election. I know there was quite a bit of opposition. He won the elections. Then, and of course, he's always going to make sure that he say, okay, it was 51-49. Usually he doesn't make it that close. But even then, they can claim that, well, we see the people elected him, even though I know a lot of people are not so happy with him, but still, people elected him. So we have to show them that we, beyond saying that he rigged the election, we have to really do what the Kenyans did and sustain our opposition in the streets and say, enough is enough. We don't recognize this guy as illegitimate. He should not even be in office right now. We need, at the very least, force the reforms. Say we don't want all these proposals that they're bringing up, that we just want change. We need change now, and we need to ensure that we can have free and fair elections. And, well, actually, at this point, we don't even want elections. We just want change. We need to get to the streets. We need to be persistent. And that's what I think we as Ugandans should be. And I'm inspired by the leaderless, tribalist march of parliament. Unfortunately, that has fizzled out because we have not rallied behind these young people that have been trying to do that. So this is just a call to action that we need to look at the situation and understand where we are going. 2026 is not the answer. We need to be, and our leaders together, we need to find a way to up the ante, to do whatever is necessary to put a lot of pressure on regime so that changes actually happen before 2026. So thank you so much, Dorcas. That's just my introduction. And from then on, I'm going to start taking hands. I see some Everest. Can you please unmute and tell us what you need to say?
Thank you, Mr. For letting me in, and Dorcas for being there for this wonderful platform. And thank you, members who are turning up today to make this day a wonderful one and to chip in for our motherland. In a sad note, we've lost our super lady the vice president, which is very sad. And we're losing quite a lot of our young men and women in Uganda. And a lot who are losing their properties as well. We should be concerned. And as what drives me and others to be here to see that we can put up something for Uganda. I stand with you, Mr. Joseph, for the pain you have for Uganda. I understand efforts are being done here and left and right. I think there are some bits and pieces we need to look at. Our communities are being destroyed for centuries. We really need to see how we can ably mobilize them to unite, because the forces which have existed since the 1900 agreements started. They are divisive forces, these destructive forces, they are carrying on. Even when we ask for embargoes or whatever sanctions to be put on individuals, it just gives the upper hand for those who want to destroy our country, looking for resources, a means of getting them at cheap. And I don't feel comfortable in that position. Personally, and other members here, we are trying to see that we come up with a flag cleansing, which will mobilize Ugandans to cleanse the flag, to cleanse their country of all the dirt, and cleanse it in their own perspective. Because what has been happening as politicians, most cases we don't have time to describe each and everyone's pain. However little, however big it is, we just pick a few we can describe. And what happens is that wherever there is like a march to parliament, people would like to hear the voice mentioning their pains, which we don't usually do. We just say march to parliament. They have not had their pains. But if we rally around the flag cleansing and everyone is cleansing that flag, expressing his pains, he will have heard what these pains are to himself or to herself. And wherever he sees a brother or sister holding that flag or cleansing that flag, the love to unite should be they should all be coming together. And in coming together, we can start small, measuring our strength to start catching the small rabbits. Before you know it, in a few trials and much concentration, you never know what we can pull down. I think this is the best way to go. And we're mobilizing, we're trying to reach out, that let us unite in this aspect and see how we can cleanse this flag. Another aspect we're taking into account is our elections. We know elections in Uganda are really deadly. We want to also, through that process, we want also to implement the clean elections, whereby we have to come up with a declaration right from the kids who are at school, not to cheat in their exams. Even the teachers, they should commit not to encourage any cheating. Those who are working in the public service, those who are working, want to vie for offices, including president, whoever will not ascertain to love Ugandans, we should know that it's not a simple statement. We should go in wholeheartedly that this is a man who is there to injure us and will do something. I think it will be a very good way of identifying people who are not committed to serve Ugandans wholeheartedly. It has been done in Taiwan. I think we can do it in Uganda. And we all know where Taiwan is. They have overcome the corruption, but not by force. They have engaged people to make sure that they get people who commit themselves to be clean for their country, to serve their country with diligence, to serve their country with love. I think if we come together and work on these approaches, and we commit ourselves to the awareness to make more Ugandans aware who are suffering, who are getting all the nasties from what is happening, we can break the hold of dictatorship in Uganda. And let me hope we will come together soon. I'm ready to be organizing it here, and I'm also ready to receive people who want to be part of this exercise wherever you are, and we continue this struggle. We need to really liberate our country. We need DOCUS's efforts, everyone's efforts here, to see that we build the Uganda we would love to see. The Uganda which is free to all, peace to everyone, and prosperity to everyone, according to what you can afford, where you don't feel cheated. That's what we would aspire for. And we can start the journey. It's never too late. Much has been done. We can put on the extra effort required, and we turn the tables. Thank you, members. Keep strong, keep the love, the hope, and be able to reconcile, even if it's not asked for, but with the aim of getting a free Uganda, a peaceful Uganda, and build our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Everest, for that contribution. Yes, you talk about our country going back to 1900 and basically implying that the the colonial system, basically, more or less, we are basically living under a colonial system, which unfortunately is exploiting our people, and leaders are kind of coming on the colonial project, which is true. Obviously, Museveni is sponsored by this, foreign forces, institutions to subject us, and so long as it's serving their interests, we are screwed. And yes, so that is something to worth considering when we are reconstituting our country after Museveni. And you talk about civic education. Yes, civic education is very important, as to in schools, and not like basically issues of integrity, anti-corruption, and all that. And you mentioned Taiwan, and of course, I think another good example is Singapore. Singapore was a very poor country, and it's corrupt. But then they had this prime minister who took over and emphasized zero tolerance for corruption. And Singapore now is one of the most developed countries in the world. It made big examples of anyone. If you even had a hint of corruption, it would make, whether you are vice president or the highest minister, it would make a huge example of you. Whereas in Uganda, Museveni talks about a lack of tolerance for corruption, but he only goes for the little fish, or like the eggs of some of the big fish. But none of the big people are ever really punished. And in fact, even when they're indicted, like Muhezi and others, they're eventually reappointed into even bigger positions where they have access to a lot of money. So civic education is important, and commitment and showing that we are anti-corrupt. So that is great. Thank you so much, Mr. Everest, for that contribution. Now, Mr. Iga, can you please unmute and tell us what you need to say? Mr. Iga?
Yeah, thanks very much, Joseph and Everest, for his input. Yeah, I'm taken back. I normally listen to one of the human rights defenders, Jeffrey Smith of the Resistance Bureau, and he described what he called a benevolent dictator. Yeah? Now, most of the institutions we have in Uganda created by the dictator, so that he looks kind of, it gives the impression that he's democratic. Now, when you look at the Electoral Commission, it's designed for rigging elections, yet it appears as prescribed by either United Nations that you should have an independent human Electoral Commission. Then you go to the Human Rights Commission, which is there to appease those who are democratic, to think that, yes, the regime is fighting for the human rights or protecting human rights. And then he brings the Anti-Corruption Commission. So he appears to be fighting corruption, whereas it's the opposite. The reason we haven't got a governor Bank of Uganda is that they can have a free run on the finances of the country. When they want money, they just send their people or those who are there in the Bank of Uganda, and they get the money they want. And that's not all. In the NSSF, it's not any better. We had Bakoko, I think it was Bakoko Bakuru, who was in the NSS who ran away. She did say, yeah. Now, where does Salim Saleh get the money? Yeah. Now, if people don't wake up to this, to what's going on in the country, yeah, we will sink down. And I think it's up to the young people, actually, who have got a big stake. Well, when you are young, your future depends on a working country, a working economy, and a working democracy, so that you can grow. Yeah? But at the moment, I can't see people. If people have to sell their property to educate you, sell their properties to literally pay medical bills, it's very shameful. Yeah? That's all I have. I thought I'd put those few points down. I'll let some others discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iga, for that submission. Yes, it's very interesting. When you talk about the Bank of Uganda, yes, since Mutabire died, we don't have a substantive governor Bank of Uganda. And as you pointed out, that basically gives Museveni the ability to kind of, even when you have an acting person, who perhaps is hoping that it can be next Bank of Uganda governor, you know, that person is very privy. I mean, it can be manipulated by Museveni to get whatever it wants. I remember Museveni Mutabire complained a couple of times. Museveni kind of literally asked him to fund, I think, the purchase of Russian jets and some other, and even I think bailing out Basajja Baraba. So Museveni would just make orders, and to Museveni Mutabire actually raised concerns about that. And he basically was raising concern about independence. But now we don't have anyone to kind of even try to question why money is being siphoned from the Bank of Uganda for whatever regime wants. And now, meanwhile, the World Bank is considering giving more money from Museveni, saying, well, we are going to make sure that the funds we give to Uganda are not, they said they're not used for LGBT, the LGBT people are protected. So again, this, you can see these institutions are more concerned about, the World Bank is the instrument of this entity, the United States and whatever, Western interests and all that. So, they really don't care about the fact that Museveni is killing and arresting, abducting. They're concerned they only kind of raise the issue of LGBT, but they still want to get the money in there. And the LGBT only because they have a big LGBT constituency in these Western countries that are very well organized, and they can vote and they can mobilize. So, even that concern is only because of their concerns of what can happen in presidential elections and local campaigns, not because they're concerned about those LGBT people in Uganda. So it's, so the World Bank is giving money to a government which does not have a simple government. And where actually I just read that over, I think something like 3.6 billion of loans Uganda actually has gotten. Mostly, I think about 50% are from World Bank, and the next biggest lender is China, Export-Import Bank. About $3.6 billion of Uganda's debt. Uganda's debt is now actually more like maybe 4 point something is unused. it's not being, it's kind of sitting there, but we're paying interest. Basically, it's costly to have money, to borrow money, and it not being used. I mean, okay, we know that someone's being stolen, but a lot of it is not used, and we're paying interest and all that for that money. Meanwhile, the roads and the hospitals and all that are not done. And why is it not being used? Because apparently Uganda doesn't have the capacity to utilize it. They didn't fulfill some of the technical, studies and whatever that are needed for this money to be dispersed. So all this kind of boils down to, why is the World Bank giving money to a regime that is incompetent, that is, is sitting on money and people are suffering and dying? The average case is lack of management of, things like, garbage collection. Yeah. So this again boils down to, we as Ugandans, we have to stand up and, and speak out and say, you know what, enough is enough. We are tired of Museveni. We don't want you guys, we don't even want your money anymore until the situation changes. So thank you so much. Mr. Joe, good to see you. Can you please unmute and give us your viewpoints?
Thank you very much, Comrade Joseph. My name's Zach. Thank you very much, Comrade Dorcas, for continuing to hold this very, very important platform. First of all, let me pay my tribute to Mama Jolly Mugisha Chomugasha, who left us at a time when we really, when Uganda most needed her. This lady, she's one of the luminaries that will go down as one of the great heroines in the history of our political struggles. I was privileged and honored to know Madame Mugisha. We worked on a number of projects, and the most recent one actually was it's about maybe more than, slightly over a month back. So I called her and I spoke to her. We spoke, and she said she just had a bit of a cold, and she was coughing a bit, but she had good treatment for it. So she hoped it would go over. So she was to get back to me, which she didn't do. And then I called her again, which was not a little bit unlike her. However, she didn't respond. And 2 days later, I learned she was very, very sick. She was in intensive. And then I got to know she was in a coma less than a month since she passed away. So this is very, very, very sad. But her passing away is again a stark reminder of the price that we must pay, all of us, and every one of us is potentially a victim. I really think, of course, it's not verified, but they say she died of poison. And this is the modus operandi of the dictator. So every one of us is a victim. She leaves a big gap. We pray for her family, especially at this very, very trying time. And I think from what we've heard, she was a single mom. So the children have just been, now they're orphaned. And at a time when she should not have died. Yeah, so it is very, very, very sad. And she's not the first one. And we know she won't be the last one. This is how the dictator thinks he's going to perpetuate his regime. But we say, no, we refuse. Talking about the reforms, ladies and gentlemen, I think much as it would be a good idea to have these reforms, they're quite plausible, as a matter of fact. But we know they're being brought in bad faith. They are merely, let me put it this way. This is just a Trojan horse that is meant to deliver other programs, other political agendas. So the likes of Mao, the likes of Puga, and anyone else, who cares to front these reforms, they have a different agenda. And even to shift from the presidential system to a parliamentary system ought to be preceded by some kind of a study and then they present some kind of a paper. But we know this is a matter of expedience for the dictator. What is going to happen? They will just say, we've approved these reforms. In reality, nothing is going to happen. And he's doing this just to, I think, to satisfy the conditionalities that have been put by the West, especially after being vilified. Now he knows his records are really bad. I think he's just doing this to appease the donors, to appease the development partners. But the real deal here is to get his son into power by all means. So let's not be fooled. Let's not be deluded to think that anything is going to pass. No, it will not. So we must remain resolute, and we must be steadfast in our strategies of removing this dictator. And I think Joseph alluded to the walk to Parliament. Joseph, it's not dead. It is not, I think it's just a matter of re-strategizing. There have been a number of challenges. The mobilization is going on across the country. Yes, the frequency of the protests may have reduced, but that is again tactical. It is strategic. It is tactical. It is not necessarily a sign of, that the protests have died. So we continue to mobilize, and that is why I encourage each one of us, of you, to get on board. We continue to mobilize, not just within the city, but across the country. What is going to save this country are going to be uprisings, and they must take place across the country simultaneously. We are the last line of defense. Once Museveni goes past us, Uganda will be gone. It is already gone, but we have to salvage it. So it is not all lost. We continue to mobilize, and we want everybody on board. Finally, I was recently in London to attend it was dubbed Tour on Duty event, and I was very, very delighted to meet many of the colleagues we normally just interact over internet. I did not meet all of them, but most of them, so it was a pleasure to finally meet and greet, and that was really good. So we remain resolute, ladies and gentlemen. We should remain focused and engage all groups to come on board so that we remove the dictator. Let him not fool us. 2026 is just as a matter of strategy or as a matter of tact, we may have those campaigns, but what is the end game? The end game is not to participate, because what are we going to achieve in 2026 that we didn't achieve in 2021? Moreover, as you aptly pointed out, this man has captured all institutions, from Bank of Uganda to the Electoral Commission, name it. They're just pseudo. They are there to deceive, to give a semblance of a democratic society, which we know Uganda is far from. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think let's remain focused. That is where we are going. That is where we must go. It is the only way. There is no other way. Compromising or agreeing to talk to the dictator is just going to take us into the abyss. Thank you, comrade. I yield the mic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that wonderful submission as usual. Yes, this all electoral reform, someone listed some of the Buga electoral reforms and this stuff. But yes, again, first of all, someone like Mpuga who accepted bribe from the regime, his integrity is already in question. And so, even, given all the maneuvering about, changing to a parliamentary system whereby the parliament chooses the president and all that stuff, all this, again, as you said, Joe, is just to give, to kind of lull us into sleep, say, electoral reforms. First of all, they're bringing them quite late. And in fact, even I think the Electoral Commission said they usually come extremely too late. So meaning, even if they, they can start talking about them, but they won't be implemented, because, like they be debate, there'll be, oh, let's have this commission, let's whatever. It's not like it will happen. Those reforms that people guys talking about. But of course, the big one, which is, I guess, a trump card, is this parliamentary system, whereby if everything fails, let the NRM choose the president. Let the NRM choose 70 or Mohozi or wherever. So this is why, Joe, as you say, this march of parliament, the protests or whatever, traders or doctors, whatever, anyone who is kind of engaged in some kind of mobilization, we should really back 100%. I mean, it's obviously, as someone abroad and in diaspora, we talk a lot and, we're not on the ground. And so I guess the challenges, but somehow we need to find and figure out a way to really support our people on the ground to make sure that Ugandans stand up to be counted by the international community to say, we cannot continue business as usual with the 70. Already they are shifting their allegiances to others, but they don't yet have. But this guy is still useful to them. So it's up to us to kind of hit the nail on the head and say, you know what, to force them to finally abandon business as usual with Uganda and ensure that Ugandans get either a free and fair election or get the elected president in power. So yes, thank you so much, Joe, for the work you're doing, helping mobilize at least connecting with people on the ground that are doing something. And we need to support and do whatever we can to make sure that for 2026, we have some kind of meaningful movement towards the Uganda that we all want. So thank you so much, Joe. Now, Mr. William Mugeni, please unmute and tell us what you need to say.
Well, what I need to say is about Ugandans as a people, Ugandans as citizens. The role of
Uganda mama, Uganda nyaffe. Buli olukya ebigambo byongera kwonooneka, byongera kubijja, byongera kuba bubi. Eri ffe bannansi n'eri abo abawamba eggwanga lyaffe. Bannansi singa tuneeyongera okuba ku mulamwa gwegumu, ffenna ne twongera okuba nga twogeza eddoboozi lyerimu, ffenna ne tuba nga tugamba kimu nti nno General Museveni tumukooye agende, aganya bwe tajja kusala kataayi. Tewajja kuba lutumira lwa liiso ng'akyali wano. Naye obuzibu bwe tulina, abamu bwe tusimbula bwe tusonga embere, balanga bagamba tibajja kututta, tibajja kutuwamba, obaka tugira tumuleka, kasitanze nnako wano wentudde nfunawo akasente, kasitanze nkyakola akolayo, tulaba ebinaddirira. Kubanga situsalawo kwogera kigambo kimu nti bannange eggwanga lyaffe lisaanawo, General Museveni ensonga kyatufutubaddeko. Abasuubuzi tunagamba nti yo, abavuzi ba taxi ne bagamba nti yo, ababoda ne bagamba nti yo, abasomesa ne bagamba nti yo, abasawo ne boogera kimu. Buli muntu gy'ali n'ayogera eddoboozi lyerimu. Mbalayirira General Museveni ne baana b'amagye ameka gajja gonna kukola bwe gati tusonga emmere. N'olwekyo omulimu gw'olina gwe munnayuganda kwe kutambuza obubaka obulimu ensa. Oyongera okugenda ng'ogamba banno nti banno twetaaga okulaba enkyukakyuka mu nsi yaffe, nti eggwanga lyaffe lifugwa bubi, likulemberwa bubi, tukulemberwa bubi. Lwe tujja okutera, tujja okweyagala, lwe tujja okulaba Uganda ng'ekyuka, General Museveni atwale enjabala nga takyasobolawo wasitoye. Mulina kusooka kukkiriza nti no tukisobola. Ne tulumba nga tewali kudda mabega, kijja kuggwa. Nga tulina omukulembeze waffe Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, Robert Bobi Wine, buli kimu tujja kituusa tukyetaaga. Mbaagala nnyo, Mukama Katonda bankuumire, tujja kuba tuddamu. wadde nga twetaaga abazungu okutukwatira ku bintu bino ku nsonga zino nti banaye tukubekerera abazungu bajja batukwatireko ye bajja tukwatirako nenga naffe tusobose kwekwatirako bagamba nannyini mufu yakwata bawunya mukama bakuume mwerabu